The Republican contenders hoping to prevent Donald Trump's electoral comeback are carefully performing political calculations as he plans his criminal defense in the case involving the sensitive information. The swelling Republican primary field must answer a straightforward question regarding the former president. Would they pardon him if they won the White House? However, the solution involves placing certain candidates in awkward situations. In the end, they must demonstrate to Republican voters in straightforward terms why they are a superior choice than the twice-impeached and currently double-indicted former president. Perhaps later. Trump is not yet politically harmed by the indictment. Trump is making use of the right-wing outcry against the federal accusations, to which he earlier this week entered a not guilty plea. According to his campaign, he has collected over $7 million in donations since the indictment became public, including over $2 million from an event held at his Bedminster, New Jersey, golf club hours after his arraignment. And Trump still has a significant advantage over his competitors. Trump receives 53% of Republican and Republican-leaning voters' support, while Florida Governor Rick Scott receives 23%. According to a Quinnipiac University survey conducted from June 8, the day the news of Trump's indictment surfaced, to June 12, Ron DeSantis is the frontrunner. More than 60% of Americans believe the accusations were serious, according to an ABC News Ipsos poll conducted after the indictment, while only 38% of Republicans shared this opinion. Trump's dominance among Republicans following his arrest demonstrates how much of his supporter base has bought into his claim that he is the target of political persecution, and that the allegations against him are the result of election interference by the Biden administration Justice Department. But the news of the indictment only broke a week ago, and the primary is still a long way off. There is still plenty of time for things to alter, and for the words of GOP rivals to adapt. On CNN's State of the Union last Sunday, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy characterized the accusations as very bad judgment, without a doubt. Paraphrased Tess Ramaswamy then reiterated his intention to pardon Trump and dared the other contenders to follow suit. In a radio interview, Haley expressed interest, saying that a pardon is less about guilt and more about what is good for the country. On the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show, which has been posing the pardon query to all the contenders, Hillary stated, "I think it would be terrible for the country to have a former president in prison for years because of the documents case. Therefore, I would lean toward a pardon." One of the Republicans who does not seem prepared to commit one way or the other on a pardon is former Vice President Mike Pence, speaking to the same radio broadcast. He replied, "We either trust in our justice system in this nation or we don't. We either adhere to the law or we don't." Although he stated during a rally in North Carolina that as a military lawyer, he would have faced court-martial in a New York minute for obtaining sensitive documents, DeSantis, who has dropped in recent polls but remains closest to Trump, has been conspicuously quiet. According to DeSantis's earlier remarks, the governor would very well support forgiving Trump. In addition to promising to be proactive when contemplating pardons for the January 6, 2021 rioters, he called the notion that the Justice Department ought to be treated impartially a fallacy. Former Governor of Arkansas Asa Hutchinson, who receives scant support in polls, is adopting a more critical stance akin to that of former Governor of New Jersey Chris Christie, who has positioned himself as Trump's Republican primary prosecutor. On State of the Union, he declared, "I find it offensive that anyone would be offering a pardon under these circumstances." Hutchinson has a distinctively pre-Trump, old-school view of the judicial system, at a time when Republican members of the U.S. House are pushing for the defunding of the FBI. He may have been alluding to the several vocal Republican requests to cut funding for the FBI and target Attorney General Merrick Garland when he remarked, "The Republican Party stands for the rule of law and our system of justice. Let us not undercut it with our words, made-up information, or accusations of the Department of Justice for which there is insufficient proof. Instead of undermining our institutions of justice and democracy, let us strengthen them." Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, on the other hand, expressed the opinion that the indictment itself undermines trust in institutions, which is far more characteristic of the GOP under Trump. During a campaign stop in Iowa, Scott reportedly declared, "We do not survive if the majority of Americans do not trust their justice system." According to the ABC poll, 47% of Americans believe the accusations against Trump are politically motivated, 37% disagree, and 16% are unsure. The majority of Republicans, 80%, believe the accusations to be politically motivated, while most Democrats, 71%, disagree. Note that the Republicans he defeated in 2016 who are still in office, are now among of his strongest supporters to get an idea of how fully Trump's views have swept the party. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, who serves as the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated in a tweet that the damage this is already inflicting far outweighs the damage from what they allege in the indictment. Why not commit a crime? One of Rubio's senior campaign staffers from 2016 was questioned by CNN's Dana Bash about this way of thinking. According to Alex Conan, conservative media is framing it as the Biden Justice Department versus Donald Trump, the former Republican president. And that left candidates in an unpleasant position because they had to choose between supporting Trump or the Biden administration, he continued. The outcome of this trial is uncertain. Conan argued that Pence's wait-and-see strategy is the best course of action for a candidate, since it gives them time to see the outcome of the trial. Conan predicted that this will develop over the course of many months. There will be more chances to square off against the president, Trump. Contrasts need to be drawn. But in the end, Bash was advised by David Kochel, a former senior strategist for the Jeb Bush 2016 campaign, that these candidates would have to turn and present their cases. The campaign is a competition, and you must be able to explain why you would be better than Trump. I do not see why he should not be president again, Kochel said. These candidates will eventually have to do so more effectively. Maybe a different contrast. That argument against Trump may eventually focus on electability rather than classified documents. When he was at the top of the ticket, Republicans fared poorly, Conan said. That is a strong message for Republican candidates to embrace.